And then Taylor said, okay, also, this was early. This is early 80s. So when they talked about a systems view or a view of process, they didn't usually talk about users. They talked about systems and things, and the users. One of the interesting things that Taylor did was to bring the user, the human being, into this umbrella of the system itself. So that was another part of what Taylor did. Now, if you look on the front page here, front page, the figure 1, page 1, this is Taylor's original model. And the way he described it, in the left column, are the criteria of choice. These are the criteria, the things that human beings value when they're interacting with a system, right? And he came up with 6 of them. Ease of use, noise reduction, which is to sift through, you know, the fire hose and all that. Quality, adaptability, time saving, and cost saving. And you can see that Bob didn't develop time and cost all that much, but remember, he's thinking about 1970s type systems, large mainframe systems and things. The PC was just coming into being. And I don't think he built the model based on that at all. And then Bob started to think about what he's calling interface, and that's the values added. What values do we add in order to meet user criteria? Now, question, which user criteria is the most important? Oh, good, very good, you're right. It all depends. See, it's a trick question. Because if you say, you can't say it definitively. It's dynamic, it depends upon the context. And that's great for us, because that's why they need us in jobs of all kinds, whether it's an analyst job or decision-making systems or whatever. So sometimes quality is the most important. Now you might say, but Mike, quality, accuracy, and currency, and reliability, that's always the most important. Can anybody think of a situation where quality isn't the most important? But would you sacrifice quality? Okay, you would, right? Because you do it every day. Anybody got a paper due tomorrow? Is it the highest quality it could possibly be? Or is it good enough is good enough because of time and other constraints, right? Right? I was working with a 2nd grade class in Upper Maine. It was in Searsport, Maine. Teaching a 2nd grade class. And the teacher there, she had told me ahead of time she was going to be teaching the food pyramid. So I was doing information literacy, showing them how to do it. I was working with the kids on that, and I had gotten it ready to teach it, and I brought my food pyramid. And the teacher said, oh, no, that's the new food pyramid. We don't use that one. I said, what do you mean? You use the old food pyramid? She said, yeah. She said, they're only 2nd graders, and the new food pyramid is not really a pyramid. It's a continuum, they just put it into a triangle, but it's not really a pyramid. The old one's a real pyramid, and the kids can place things, and that's, they'll learn that later, but it wasn't the food pyramid that was important, it was cataloging, actually. It was putting things in categories. So, quality, accuracy was totally irrelevant to that teacher, right? And you know what, she's probably right. There were times that we do it. Ease of use. Or, let's say we wanted to do a thing on global warming in the Arctic. What's the best thing to do? Maybe to take a trip to the Arctic, right? And to do some studies over the next 20 years or something. But we're not going to do that because it's too costly and too timely. So we go to secondary sources. You see what I'm saying? So even quality. And then Bob started to identify the system processes that add those values. So if we're interested in accuracy, how do we fulfill accuracy? And we do it through editing, updating, quality control. How do we reduce noise? Bob even used the word, I reread it today, he uses the word tagging in his book in '86. We tag things with subject headings and things. I mean, I think that may be the first, one of pretty early use of tagging, which we're doing today. Ease of use, we alphabetize. And by the way, Scott, I looked at the iSchool's new website, and guess where the search box is? No, it's on the top left. Yeah, it is. Because my students today were saying that there are certain conventions to websites that make it easier to use. And one of the conventions is, for the most part, that the search box is usually in the upper right, and the menu stuff, the links are on the left. Well, it turns out people are trying to change that. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying we should think about those kinds of things and whatever, invaluable. So that's Taylor. And that, it was used for a while, and then it kind of faded from sight. And he also applied it in a number of situations. He applied it in libraries, which was really interesting, and he actually did a study of libraries. Also, Taylor had a National Science Foundation grant to look at some of this stuff as well. And what they used to call online retrieval services. An online retrieval service was like searching a library database, but do you know how it was done in the 70s and early 80s? You would go into the library, you'd make an appointment with the librarian, you'd tell the librarian what you wanted, the librarian would go search and come back and show you the results. And then you would say which ones you want, and the librarian would arrange where you could go get that in the library. The librarian was the intermediary because the search systems were so expensive that you couldn't do it yourself. That's the kind of environment that Taylor was developing this. And the fact that the model is so applicable today, I think, is one of the extraordinary things about it. So he did this study of libraries. I know you can't see this really, really well, but it was for numbers from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. And he had rated them, and I don't remember the specifics of the study, but in terms of how well they did the different values. And what you see is physical access in research libraries, as well as college and public libraries and special, does really well. But in terms of formatting, in terms of ordering, not so good. In terms of linking, which is what the web is based on, right? Links. Libraries really do a pretty poor job. It says special libraries did a little better, and so forth. So you see, Bob started to rank services in a system like library based on the model, and it worked on that kind of thing. Okay, I also thought this was interesting. This was a quote in Taylor that I pulled out. We really don't know what to do with that power, talking about computing power, except to automate early 20th century processes. In other words, even Bob was recognizing that they hadn't done anything extraordinary with computing yet. Right? And he expected it to be that way for a long time. Like the little boy with the hammer, everything becomes a nail, right? And I really think the early days of computing, we really were just automating. And frankly, I think our libraries today are just automated versions of libraries for the last 2,000 years. Right? And you know, what's the most unusual? Maybe it's off-campus access. Maybe it's digital reference. It's still pretty much automated. So think about it. You want to create the next generation of libraries, those of you in that program, what would it be? What would it look like? Something interesting to think about. Okay, and here's change. I was going to say you can believe in, but I changed it to it. These are the changes that have taken place since Taylor. Right? So in 81, the personal computer, in 85, the internet itself, 93, you know, the web's only 17 years old. If you think about it in terms of Netscape and that. Wireless, 10 years. Google is only 11 years old. What?
It had its birthday that month ago, it's 12.
But, okay. Well, it depends how you count it. Because, you know, it was Brennan Page's first iteration and that. But it's when it went publicly available, is that what they're saying? That it was just, okay, now it's 12. The iPod, which I think is one of the most revolutionary technologies ever developed. Right? And then other things like it. So we want to be able to be, our theories to be very flexible.